The Joe Rogan Experience.
And I was kind of I grew up in a machine shop. My dad was a machinist, so I was doing that from like 5 years old. I was sweeping the fucking floor. And I was like, man, this is not what I'm meant to be. Like, I'm supposed to be something great, but everybody around me is like, no, this is what you do. You live in this little town, and you follow the rules. You're going to be a machinist or a farmer or, you know, whatever. And, you know, that shit pissed me off, you know, and I never really found my niche. And so I was homeschooled actually for, I think, 2 years in junior high. So I think that was sort of actually the start, because I went back to school. And when I went back to school, I was now the outsider. I didn't have any friends. And then going up, all of a sudden I'm in high school and I have no friends. I have no, I can't get laid for shit. I think that's what causes anger in a lot of people in the world, right?
Oh yeah, and depression.
Yeah,
that's a big factor.
Yeah, and at the exact same time, I'm starting to experiment with drugs and alcohol. So you put the two together, you know. I was supposed to be the prodigal son, you know what I mean? Like, I was very intelligent. I was, you know, I was doing things by the time I was 15 years old in the machine shop that guys, you know, they've been working for my father for 10, 15 years couldn't do. You know what I mean? So I was sort of this prodigal son. I was good at athletics and everything. Had no problem with all that stuff. So I think it was just sort of a backlash, you know, and then I let that anger get the best of me.
So now, when you were doing drugs and alcohol, what were the drugs? Like, what was the drug that caused you to overdose?
Heroin. Ooh. An injection, yeah.
Damn, that's deep. When you're injecting it, that's when you're all in, baby.
Yeah, and you know, I didn't actually do it a whole lot. It's kind of the funny thing. A lot of people thought that I was addicted to heroin, and I wasn't. I think that was probably the 5th time that I did it, maybe 6, something like that. I didn't count, but you know, that was sort of that was my step into the dark side. You know, and a blessing and a curse, man. You know, it immediately, I was like, oh, okay, that's what can happen, right? It's the step back. And, you know, I was very naive, very, man, I was a fool, really. Like, because what I did, I remember leaving the hospital. I was like, okay, well, I'm never doing heroin again, but let's go do some coke. You know? Right, so I was just a dummy, man.
Wow. How old were you?
I think I was 21, 22. One of those. I mean, it was like 15 years ago. There's a lot of stuff. I was actually kind of thinking about, like, so again, you know, on this podcast, I was like, you know, it's probably going to come up on it. It's a pretty intense story. I was like, damn, I can't remember all the details of that shit. It was like a long time ago, but anyway, yeah, so I was like 21, 22, and it wasn't too much long later, you know, I lived with this girl, and, you know, she was a drug addict too, and she had a couple kids, and it was like, all right, well, now I got a place to live, like, let's get fucked up. You know, and it was, I never did heroin again after that, obviously. I think I did oxys, though. Percocet, stuff like that.
Oxy's basically the same thing, right?
Yeah, which I mean, I didn't realize it at the time. But really, my drug of choice was meth back in that day. That was what I really liked. That was actually what I was addicted to at one point. And I ended up going to jail, and that was what got me out of addiction. I didn't realize I was addicted until I was in jail. So,
what made you realize it when you were in jail?
I just, you know, just couldn't stop thinking about it and just wanting it, and just, I mean, I didn't have like cold sweats or anything. I don't think that happens with uppers, but I mean, I was just, you know, like I couldn't stop thinking about it, man. I was like, dude, like, just a lot of that anger was coming out. I was just like, God, like, what the fuck? Like, I wanted to fight everybody. I was like, somebody give me something, you know? And
wow.
Yeah, it was just a really terrible experience, but probably only lasted 3-4 days. Maybe not even that. And
then you came out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I was just like able to accept my fate and deal with it.
What does it feel like to be on meth?
You ever take Adderall?
No.
Never taken an Adderall?
No. Pretty similar to Adderall, right?
Yeah, it's like Adderall. I mean, that's the closest I would say. I mean, you're high, but you don't have, I mean, it's a euphoria more than anything. Just an extreme sense of euphoria. Just everything's beautiful, but then, man, as soon as you start to lose that a little bit, you just itch for it so bad, man, so bad. Like, you just want it again. You don't want to sleep. Like, your teeth will be grinding. You're just like you're just tensing up all your muscles. Like God, well, I got to get more of that, you know.
Now, were you working out at all back then?
No. Well, not working out like I should be. So, again, I was angry. A lot of times, like, I'd be at a party. This was a common thing. I'd be at like a party or just doing drugs, whatever, and I just started look at everybody like I fucking don't like none of you, and I would just walk outside and I would go for a run. I'd run 5-6 miles, come back, and be like, all right, give me another line or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah.
You would run and then come back to the party?
Yeah, and then sometimes I would fight people. You know, that was common, very, very common, if you call that working out. And we like this particular time in my life, I was living in a little town called Jamestown, Ohio, and I had this buddy. He was his cousin was a fighter, and this was kind of my first a foray into mixed martial arts, our first experience watching it and everything. And they would train in the grass in the backyard, you know. I remember watching Ken Shamrock DVDs or VHSs back then. Leg locks. We'd go on the living room floor, like, just be shit-faced drunk, and I'm lucky I didn't tear my ACL or anything. We're like, oh, this is what he's doing. This is how you do it.
Heel hooks.
Yeah, heel hooks. And I mean, I don't remember all the techniques, but I remember it was like, you know, pancreation stuff, right? And we'd just be laying there, and it was always a thought of like, dude, this is fucking awesome, man. Like, I could beat Tank Abbott. Like, you know, and we would joke about it, man. We would say, I remember specifically sitting there and be like, dude, like, you know, we're going to get you a fight in, you know, the local Joe Schmo show, and then, you know, we're going to get you up, and you're going to go to a Pride, and then you're going to go to the UFC. And I was like, oh, cool, hell yeah, let's do it. And that was, you know, it was like a joke, kind of, but that was what was in my head. That's what we were going to do.
Introduction to martial arts.
Yeah.
So what was your first real formal training? Like, what gym did you first?
So I fought before I trained.
Get the fuck out
of here. Yeah, so so actually this guy that was he was supposed to go fight Wes Sims, and his name was Fat Joe is what we called him. He was supposed to go fight Wes Sims that day, and I said, yeah, let's go, man. I want to go with you. I want to see this shit up close, right? So we go there, and I'm doing a bunch of coke on the way, and, you know, to me it's just gonna be a party. Like, I'm just gonna watch my dude fight. I get there, and you know, he signs up on the table, and I was like, dude, what is that? How you know, that's all you got to do? He's like, yeah. He's like, you just pay $30 and you come fight. I said, man, maybe I should do that. And then the guy, and I'm looking inside, and I see the you know, people sitting around smoking cigars, like you see on a movie. People smoking cigars. You see bets being made and stuff, and the guy goes, man, you want to fight the champion? Like, nobody wants to fight him. And I was like, fuck yeah, man, I'll fight him. Are you kidding me? So I literally went across the street. There's a sporting goods store across the street or down the street or something. Went and bought a mouthpiece. Come back. There's a restaurant across the street. Boiled the mouthpiece at the restaurant. Used their microwave. Come back, and then we're at the fighters meeting. So the fighters meeting back then was a lot different. So there wasn't weigh-in. It was like, you guys look about the same size. You guys doing kickboxing? Okay, you guys fight, right? So that's how the way it worked out. And I'm sitting there, and they're like, okay, you're the champion. You're fighting him. And I was like, oh shit, all right, fuck this motherfucker, right? And you know, so I'm sitting backstage, and this guy, he taught me how to do a jab. He's like, man, all you gotta do to beat this guy, just jab him. He's like, you see this? Just throw this jab. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do that. And went out there, and I beat the guy. So he actually quit. Yeah, he actually quit, you know. So he was a tough man champion is what he was. And I actually threw a jab, punched him in the face, and he went to shoot on me. I did, you know, a playground guillotine choke, and he just quit. I don't think I actually had the choke in. highly doubt.
Did he tap?
He tapped out, saying that his calf cramped up. I have no idea, like what really happened. I mean, I certainly didn't know a guillotine choke. I didn't even know the name of it. So anyway, later that night, I was like, dude, like your fight didn't go very long. You want to fight again? I was like, yeah, whatever, man. And they said, well, this guy, he's going pro in his next boxing match. You're a kickboxer. Let's fight him. I said, all right, I'll fuck him up, right? I go there. This dude beat the shit out of him. So that was actually the nice thing about that was it actually made me realize how tough I am. That was the saving grace. I mean, he just, just pieced me up, just one punch after another. I'm just eating punch after punch. And then, yeah, that was it. I said, man, I got to do this shit. And then, so my second fight, I didn't think I still yet needed to train. My second fight, I met a guy at a gym. So, I did go to this gym as a Japanese jiu-jitsu gym. And he goes, he goes, hey, man, you want to fight in like 2 weeks in Muay Thai? Hell yeah, right? So for 2 weeks, I'd hit the bag probably for 5 minutes at a time, whatever, or something. I go to the fight, and man, this is the worst part. So I get in there. The first thing the guy does, comes in, shoots on me, takes me down. We're in big gloves, shin pads and all this. Takes me down. I'll get up, look at the ref. What the fuck? He's taking me down. We can't do this. Muay Thai, right? He's like, fight, Comes in, takes me down again. I was like, what the fuck, man? So I was like, okay, so we're fucking wrestling, right? So I come out and get in sort of a wrestling stance, drop my hands, fucking kicks me in my head. So we'll come find out later. It's Stan Shao, not Muay Thai. Scott Shealy's show. I used to work with him a lot.
Stan Shao, for people who don't know, was kickboxing with takedowns.
Yep.
I cornered Maurice Smith back in the day when Maurice was doing that once.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, in Burbank, I think it was. It was weird. It was confusing. It's like, okay, I mean, it's interesting, I guess. I mean, it's probably a good skill set to learn how to do takedowns and throws with kickboxing, but then you just let the guy up, which is just weird.
You didn't get it, huh?
It was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it still goes on. They Sanda.
Yeah.
I think it's an amazing sport. I love it.
It's amazing,
Yeah.
and it's
Kung Lee.
a lot of times it's a lot like throws in Muay Thai, because you know there's a lot of trips and throws in Muay Thai.
Except you get points for the throws. Yeah, up to 5. Yeah,
another variation. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if like their feet go above their head, it's 5 points.
So when did you get serious? So you did this.
So it was right after that, because I mean he beat the shit out of me. I remember walking out of there and people were looking at me like, "Damn, how'd you survive that, bro?" I mean, and like people were actually asking me, like, "Dude, how did you survive that shit?" I'm like, I don't know. I had to go to work that night. I was like working third shift. I had to go to work right after. Everybody was looking at me at work like, "Dude, you got like 2 black eyes?" But anyway, that was when I said to myself, I want to try this, and I think this is something I really enjoy, and I want to go for it. So I met this guy. His name was Eli Ayers, and he was fighting in King of the Cage, one of the toughest guys I've ever met, and then a guy, Braden Workman, and they were training it was a big show there in Columbus. I can't remember the name of the show, but I think like Lawler fought on it, like a bunch of Militich guys, Tim Sylvia. You know the name if I say it, I can't remember. But anyway, yeah, and then, then I really got this shit kicked out of me when I got in the gym. Then I realized like, what a real beating was. And yeah, just went from there, man, because I just said, I never looked back, and I thought, man, I want to change my life. I wasn't never actually the type of person that fit in with the drug user scene, right? Like that wasn't me. It was just again, an expression of anger and these things that, in my childhood just kind of, came out the wrong way, right? So it wasn't really like I fit in there.
Right.
So at this point, like I'm really not fitting in anywhere. And this was a quote that I remember where I said, "Stop trying to find yourself and start to define yourself." And I felt like the whole time I was trying to find myself. And I said, I'm gonna define who the fuck I am. I'm gonna say this is what I am and this is what I do. I'm a fighter. Fuck it. Let's go. It's do or die. I've been in jail. I've been dead. I've been, I've slept in the fucking snow. You know what I mean? Like been homeless. Like I've done every low thing you can do. Like what's the worst that could happen? I get knocked out. There's nothing. So, I decided, this is my path, and I'm going to carve the path. I'm not going to search for a path. I'm going to make the path, and I'm not going to look back, and I'm going to the top of that mountain. And that's something I still talk about today when I talk to people, is about, I didn't have any idea how I was going to do it, but I knew why I was going to do it, and I knew that I was going to do it. And I think in my own personal struggles, and I think in a lot of people's struggles, they kind of get caught up in the how. How am I going to do this? How am I going to win this fight? Whatever. And I think when you understand your why, I think the how becomes a lot more
Clear.
Yeah, more clear and easier. I mean, it doesn't matter anymore. It's better to do it 100% wrong than 50% right.